Welcome to the second season of the Santaland podcast. You know what? We're going to shake things up around here. In the last season, I read to you chapters from my book and we talked a little bit about the creative process, and I'll still do that here. We'll probably read chapters from the sequel of my book, which I'm writing now. But more importantly, this is a place where creative people can come and to listen to someone read. What am I trying to say? Well, one of my talents is that I can speed read, and I can often read things never having seen them before and do the character voices and all. I like to do that to challenge myself and to keep myself sharp. And I thought, hey, wouldn't it be fun if I brought you guys in on the conversation? What if you guys got to listen to me try to do it in one take? And mistakes and all, because it's quite a feat if you can do it. That's it. That's my pitch. That's my show. And it's all about the honest-to-goodness hard work it takes to bring creative works to life. If this is your thing, you're in the right place. If you'd like to be on my show, if you have a book that you'd like me to read and then maybe be on my show, we can talk about it, then please get in touch. You can reach me at santalandpodcast.com. And you can find this podcast on your favorite podcast platforms. I populate weekly, so I'm so grateful that you guys are here and still here, where all we do is talk about love. Welcome back to Santaland. Welcome to the second season of the Santaland podcast. You know what? We're going to shake things up around here. In the last season, I read to you chapters from my book and we talked a little bit about the creative process, and I'll still do that here. We'll probably read chapters from the sequel of my book, which I'm writing now. But more importantly, this is a place where creative people can come and to listen to someone read. What am I trying to say? Well, one of my talents is that I can speed read, and I can often read things never having seen them before and do the character voices and all. I like to do that to challenge myself and to keep myself sharp. And I thought, hey, wouldn't it be fun if I brought you guys in on the conversation? What if you guys got to listen to me try to do it in one take? And mistakes and all, because it's quite a feat if you can do it. That's it. That's my pitch. That's my show. And it's all about the honest-to-goodness hard work it takes to bring creative works to life. If this is your thing, you're in the right place. If you'd like to be on my show, if you have a book that you'd like me to read and then maybe be on my show, we can talk about it, then please get in touch. You can reach me at santalandpodcast.com. And you can find this podcast on your favorite podcast platforms. I populate weekly, so I'm so grateful that you guys are here and still here, where all we do is talk about love. Welcome back to Santaland. Hello, and welcome back to the Santaland podcast. I'm so glad that you're here. I've decided that my next reading is going to be Pinocchio, the first edition, and I have a copy. I'm very fortunate enough to have a copy. And so I'm going to be reading from that. It'll be great because I'll actually have a book in front of me instead of my phone. I'm going to do the character voices and I'm going to read the copy. I must have read this. I know I've read this, but we're talking like 30 years maybe. So essentially it is kind of brand new for me. And guys, I have this whole analysis of, Pinocchio and how it's a metaphor for the times, and how, we're all trying to become real in a sense, you and I. However we get there, we want to get real so we can feel like we've had some accomplishment, and we have really great connections in our life. I mean, when you're connected, that's when you know things are working, which is one of the reasons why I've been absent for a little bit, because I have been sending out queries for my novel, Santaland, a modern adult fairy tale. And I think the reason why I fully expect for some of these that were sent outside of query season that I would have gotten a response right away. I've had a couple that said, not for me, but I really do wish you luck. So where people find problems in things, I like to find data if I can. And so what this is telling me is to take a little bit of a pause. So because I've come to the realization through some conversations that I've probably written a really nice piece of literature that someone is going to love and want to publish the way it is, pretty much, because they understand the contemplative nature of the book and its tone and how it changes and what that means and why. And the fact that it's narrated by a cricket. And so there's exposition, because that's what happens when you narrate a story. But not a lot of people are going to get that, and they're not looking for that, probably. They're probably looking for something that they know right away how they can sell this, how they can market it, and what they've got to put behind it. So I'm thinking about doing a rewrite just for fun, and maybe send out a couple of queries, because I can make it I can make it more commercial for sure. I'm thinking about having the book open with Meredith having received the manuscript, and she throws it onto the floor. So the reader knows that, okay, so this is sort of about a book and these people who wrote this note, to sort of set the stage for what comes. And then maybe we go back in time, and we go back to 1993 when David and Tom first meet. And we go through moments of their life where the cricket shows up and is a part of their lives, in whatever literary form or device rather I want to use, or I end up using. So I'm reading Rachel Reed's books because of the excitement around Heated Rivalry, and the first book, that's what she does. It's sort of she sets the tone for what's to come, and grabs you right away. And I want to do that too. Winnie the Pooh doesn't read like that. And Charles Dickens, of course, A Christmas Carol that I read, you can tell it, paragraphs are a mouthful, and there's more than meets the eye between the lines of what's written, and that's what I try to write as well. But I can always get better. And so anyway, that's that, and I respect that. So I have been flying solo for this whole time, and I decided to bring on a team, and they're working pro bono because they love me. But I'll talk about them soon. But I brought along Tim, Ashley, and Gavin, who will be serving critical roles as producers for the show. And also with my pursuit of a literary presence, they're going to be helping me with that. They're going to be shooting holes in my work. They're going to be taking a close look at it, and they're going to get feedback that I don't have to be a part of to decide whether or not that feedback is relative or not. I'm so lucky. I know so many authors that are doing this all by themselves and who self-publish or hybrid publish, or looking for traditional, or they're like me. I'm mostly looking for a lit agent out of the gate. What I'm really doing is just figuring this process out, to be honest with you. So, and the system is designed for anomaly as much as it tries to tamp down and to normalize and mainstream and categorize and label. The reality is there are inflection points, and I want to be on that inflection point. I think there is one coming. There's a part of me that's I feel stuff, and I feel this wave of love. I don't know what it is. I feel it coming, and it makes me think of the North Pole. It makes me think of Santa Claus. So I want to ride that wave if I can, but I can also write a piece of commercially viable art. I know that. I've done it before. That's what all the words that I write have made my clients successful, have helped make. I can't take ownership of any of that. And to be frank and to be truthful, I'm the idea person and the strategy person and the words person, but they usually get fixed by other people. So it's a team. And you'll see that it takes a team of characters to help Pinocchio on his journey from where he begins to where he goes and the person that he becomes. So, without further ado, I am going to attempt this copy right now. So, hang on. Okay. Chapter 1 is pretty short. So, I'm going to try the voice, and if I screw up, then I'll go back to it again. But yeah, so here we go. The Adventures of Pinocchio, Chapter 1. How it came to pass that Master Cheery, the carpenter, found a piece of wood that laughed and cried like a child. There was once upon a time. A king, my little readers will instantly exclaim. No, children, you're wrong. There was once upon a time a piece of wood. This wood was not valuable. It was only a common log like those that are burnt in winter in the stoves, and the fireplaces to make a cheerful blaze and warm the rooms. I cannot say how it came about, but the fact is that one fine day this piece of wood was lying in the shop of an old carpenter of the name of Master Antonio. He was, however, called by everybody Master Cheery, on account of the end of his nose, which was always as red and polished as a ripe cherry. No sooner had Master Cheery set eyes upon the piece of wood than his face beamed with delight. Rubbing his hands together with satisfaction, he said softly to himself, "This wood has come at the right moment. It will do, just do. This wood has come at the right moment. It will just do to make the leg of a little table." Having said this, he immediately took a sharp axe with which to remove the bark and the rough surface. Just, however, as he was going to give the first stroke, he remained with his arms suspended in the air, for he heard a small voice saying imploringly, "Do not strike me so hard!" Picture to yourselves the astonishment of good old Master Cheery. He turned his terrified eyes all round the room to try to discover where the little voice could possibly have come from, but he saw nobody. He looked under the bench. Nobody. He looked into a cupboard that was always shut. Nobody. He looked into a basket of shavings and sawdust. Nobody. He even opened the door of the shop and gave a glance into the street, and still nobody. Who then could it be? "I see how it is," he said, laughing and scratching his wig. "Evidently that little voice was all my imagination. Let us set to work again." And taking up the axe, he struck a tremendous blow on the piece of wood. "Oh, oh, you have hurt me!" cried the same little voice dolefully. This time Master Cheery was petrified. His eyes started out of his head with fright. His mouth remained open, and his tongue hung out almost to the end of his chin like a mask on a fountain. As soon as he had recovered the use of his speech, he began to say, stuttering and trembling with fear, "But where on earth could that little voice have come from that said, 'Oh, oh'? Here there is certainly not a living soul. Is it possible that this piece of wood could have learnt to cry and lament like a child? I cannot believe it. This piece of wood, here it is, a log for fuel like all the others, and thrown on the fire. It would about suffice to boil a saucepan of beans. How then? Can anyone be hidden inside it? If anyone is hidden inside, so much the worse for him. I will settle him at once." So, saying, he seized the poor piece of wood and commenced beating it without mercy against the walls of the room. Then He stopped to listen, as if he could hear any little voice lamenting. He waited 2 minutes. Nothing. 5 minutes. Nothing. 10 minutes. Still nothing. "I see how it is, then," he said, forcing himself to laugh and pushing up his wig. "Evidently the little voice that said, 'Oh,' was all in my imagination. Let us set to work again." But as all the same, he was in a great fright. He tried to sing to give himself a little courage. Putting the axe aside, he took his plane, too plain, and polished a bit of wood. But whilst he was running it up and down, he heard the same little voice say, laughing, "Have done! You're tickling me all over!" This time, poor Master Cherry fell down, as if he'd been struck by lightning. When at last he opened his eyes, he found himself seated on the floor. His face was quite changed. Even the end of his nose, instead of being crimson, as it nearly always was, had become blue from fright. Chapter 2. Master Cherry makes a present of the piece of wood to his friend Geppetto, who takes it to make for himself a wonderful puppet that shall know how to dance and to fence and to leap like an acrobat. At that moment, someone knocked at the door. "Come in," said the carpenter, without having the strength to rise to his feet. A lively little old man immediately walked into the shop. His name was Geppetto, but when the boys of the neighborhood wished to put him in a passion, they called him by the nickname of Polendina, because his yellow wig greatly resembled a pudding made of Indian corn. Geppetto was very fiery. Woe to him who called him Polendina. He became furious, and there was no holding him. "Good day, Master Antonio," said Geppetto. "What are you doing there on the floor?" "I'm teaching the alphabet to the ants." Much good that may do you." "What has it brought to you?" "Me? What has brought you to me, neighbor Oh, my goodness, I didn't do that very well, did I? Okay, let's just look and see. Okay, this one's going to be a challenge. Let's see if we can do it. Okay. At that moment, someone knocked at the door. "Come in," said the carpenter, without having the strength to rise to his feet. Okay, that was bad. At that moment, someone knocked at the door. "Come in," said the carpenter, without having the strength to rise to his feet. A lively old gentleman immediately walked into the shop. His name was Geppetto, but when the boys of the neighborhood wished to put him in a passion, they called him by the nickname of Polendina, because his yellow wig greatly resembled a pudding made of Indian corn. Geppetto was very fiery. Woe to him who called him Polendina. He became furious, and there was no holding him. "Good day, Master Antonio," said Geppetto. "What are you doing there on the floor?" "I'm teaching the alphabet to the ants." "Much good that may do for you. What has brought you to me, neighbor Geppetto?" "My legs. But to say the truth, Master Antonio, I have come to ask a favor of you." "Here I am, ready to serve you," replied the carpenter, getting onto his knees. "This morning an idea came into my head." "Let's hear it." "I thought I would make a beautiful wooden puppet, but a wonderful puppet that should know how to dance, to fence, and to leap like an acrobat. With this puppet, I would travel about the world to earn a piece of bread and a glass of wine. What do you think of it?" "Bravo, Polendina," exclaimed the same little voice, and it was impossible to say where it came from. Hearing himself called Polendina, Geppetto became as red as a turkey cock from rage, and turning to the carpenter, he said in a fury, "Why do you insult me?" "Who insults you? You called me Polendina." "It was not I." "Who would have it then?" "Who would have it then? It was you, I say. It was you." "No." "Yes." "No." "Yes." And becoming more and more angry from words came to blows, and flying at each other, they bit and fought and scratched manfully. When the fight was over, Master Antonio was in possession of Geppetto's yellow wig, and Geppetto discovered that the gray wig belonging to the carpenter had remained between his teeth. "Give me back my wig," screamed Master Antonio, "and you return mine, and let us make friends." The two old men, having each recovered his own wig, shook hands and swore they would remain friends to the end of their lives. "Well then, neighbor Geppetto," said the carpenter, to prove that peace was made, "what is the favor that you wish of me?" "I want a little wood to make my puppet. Will you give me some?" Master Antonio was delighted, and he immediately went to the bench and fetched the piece of wood that had caused him so much fear. But just as he was going to give it to his friend, the piece of wood gave a shake, and wriggling violently out of his hands, it struck with all its force against the dried-up shins of poor old Geppetto. "Ah! Is that the courteous way in which you make your presents, Master Antonio? You have almost lamed me." "I swear to you that it was not I." Then you would have it that it was I? The wood is entirely to blame." "I know that it was the wood, but it was you that hit my leg with it." "I did not hit you with it." "Liar." "Geppetto, don't insult me, or I'll call you Polladina." "Ass, Polladina, donkey, Polladina, baboon, Polladina." On hearing himself called Polladina for the third time, Geppetto, blind with rage, fell upon the carpenter, and they fought desperately. When the battle was over, Master Antonio had 2 more scratches on his nose, and his adversary had 2 buttons too little on his waistcoat. Their accounts being thus squared, they shook hands and swore to remain good friends for the rest of their lives. Geppetto carried off his fine piece of wood, and, thanking Master Antonio, returned limping to his house. Okay, so one thing's clear. I gotta work on the character voices. So I'm gonna print off if I can beg your permission. And I hope I was close enough to the microphone when I was reading that. Oh my gosh. Sometimes I'm such an idiot when it comes to stuff like that. Hold on, let me listen. Okay, so I put on my headphones and it sounds okay, but I got to run it into post. So if it's not okay, then I promise I won't look at the copy again until we meet again. The book's just going to sit here on my desk. But it's clear what I do need to do is I need to practice the character voices. So with your permission, and if you'll indulge me, I will I'll make some notes from what I remember about the characters, having read it so long ago as a boy, which is pretty good because I'm going to have the perspective of a child, I think. So I'm going to work on the character voices so that by the next episode, when a female character shows up or a fox shows up, I know what to do. You guys deserve that. So I will practice the character voices, and on our next episode, we will we'll see how I do. What else do I want to talk about? Let's see. There's lots of things we could break down about that chapter, if you think about it, and some people will look at it from the perspective of, there's this voice inside the wood. What does that mean? Some people ask the question, how did it get there? We're in the middle of the action here. We have no idea how it got there. Okay? So that's a clue to something. Obi's going nuts, so you're going to hear him barking. So that's a clue to something. But also notice that in the presence of the wood with the voice in it. Hold on, I got to let the dog in. Come on in. Why are you out there raising hell? Come on in here, be quiet. What was I saying? Oh, in the presence of that voice, do you notice that they calm down? Right? So that's another clue. Did you notice that they calm down in the presence of that wood? And also, the fact that the voice is coming out of there, and we're just predisposed to not believe in anything uncanny, which is cool for some people. That's great. That gives them a foundation where they can live their lives. They don't need to worry about that stuff. Other people can see it and go, okay, well, this is kind of cool. This means something to me, right? The same way an emoji means something to you individually. That emoji carries a lot of feelings and emotions and words and thoughts and phrases, and it's packed in an emoji. That's why they're so great sometimes as a response. I didn't mean to denigrate to emoji from Pinocchio, but this is the birth of Pinocchio that we're witnessing, and it's coming in pain. It's coming in not being seen and not being heard. So here is the instant of his existence, and he is not being confirmed to be alive by anyone. And he's trapped inside the wood. How would that feel? My God. Does anybody else think of these things? I guess this is why I'm a writer. I suppose I can call myself author because while I'm not published, I have written 4 books, completed them. And I have so many more to go. But we are going to learn things here about Pinocchio before Pinocchio learns them about himself, I'm sure. Because I like to think about those things. Practically, because it sparks ideas for dialogue, for conversations, for, maybe framing this idea differently with different characters, having a different problem, but being unaware that they are not confirming someone's identity when they're screaming for it. Please see me. Wow. So I'm finding a lot of love on Threads right now. My algorithm is such that I only look at love stuff. I know the other stuff is going on, and people keep me informed. And the best I can do is this. 62 years old. The best I can do with my health is to spread love. And I see that the impact is tremendous. And I feel this wave of love coming, and it's not scary. It's inclusive. And that's not even that word that scares people. It's just like people are waking up to the idea that it's so much fun to love and support each other. And that's really cool. That's really cool. Because everybody gets what they want, when we all work together, when we can come from that space of love. And that's where Pinocchio is coming from. Wow. Kid's coming from a place of love. And he's having an impact on the adults who are locked into their identities and their roles. So much so that Geppetto gets upset if you call him by this crazy name. Labels are important. Labels, for some people, help give them structure in a three-dimensional world. It gives them comfort knowing that there's some structure there. For people who see beyond that, there's a metaphorical question that only you can answer. You can't go out searching on it. Please don't ask chat. Chat is wonderful for certain things, but not for that. Not for writing. Not for that. Because that's like turning over a magic 8-ball, right? In a sense. And the answer has to come from you. So maybe go use chat if you have to. But ultimately, the answer is going to come from you whether you like it or not. You may not see it, but this book is so brilliant because it's asking us these very powerful questions about a silly idea of a puppet coming to life. And that is the purpose of great literature, because it's what's between the lines, folks. My book is written a lot about what's between the lines, but I'm going to go back and look at it because I'm not a jerk. And this is a jerk-free space. I will take a look at it with a critical eye and go, okay, yeah, I've got to fix this for sure. Got to fix it. But what's done masterfully here with Pinocchio is that me, somebody who is a writer and a visual learner, a visual artist, a performer, observation is the birthplace of creativity. right? You have to first, and before observation comes perception. And I suppose before perception might come curiosity. Before curiosity comes self, identity, the ability to ask a question, because in the absence of confirmation of oneself, every question is stupid. None of them are answerable. That's why I yak Tim's head off every day. I love that man. He listens to me go on and on about stuff. I jump out of bed. I don't jump out of bed, trust me. I roll out of bed. I crawl out of bed. I go into the kitchen. 5 minutes later, I'm on some TED Talk about love, and he's with me always. For me, I get to unveil my real boy inside me with someone who confirms my identity every day and supports it. So you have to have a good support group. If your friends, bye Felicia. If your friends are not up to snuff, it's okay. Just keep them, draw your boundaries with love. It's not a judgment, it's a boundary. But I love the way great literature asks more questions than it answers. And I think at the end of the day, that's what I'm going to look for in my book. Does it ask more questions? Does it answer? And if it does answer, is there a purpose for the reader not discovering it on their own? Some of the exposition is to set up the exact framework for the metaphor that follows. The naughty list is a metaphor for choosing love. But it takes a while, Is it he chose love? No, that's abstract exposition. No, the tightness in his chest released for the first time in probably any he could remember. He felt a swelling and a catch in the throat like a sore thumb. His eyes filled with tears, and he was enveloped in this feeling he had never felt before. This warm, lovely, I love you back kind of feeling. So yeah, you can say that. But then when you get to the poetry at the end, you're like, okay, I'm done with the poetry. I'm done with the, So I got to think about this, folks. And if you have any feedback, because you've heard the prior episodes, listen to a couple. Let me know what you think. Tell me if it stinks. Tell me if you like it. You can always reach me at info@santalandpodcast.com. Thank you for listening. Remember to subscribe and, put the notifications on so you get notified every time we release a new episode, which is weekly, fingers crossed. Tim and I are going on a trip to the Northwest. I'm going to try to bring you guys with me. So keep your fingers crossed on that. I love you so much. You can find me on all your favorite podcast platforms. God bless. Take care.